If you're listening to the Team Deakins podcast and you think that it's learning just about cinematography, filmmaking, and storytelling, I think you're really missing out. I'm going to go through in detail about a few things that I feel are really important that you can get out of that podcast, but in summary, for the impatient ones, the first one is a high degree of respect, open-minded, and curiosity to anyone and everyone they talk to, regardless of age, experience, or background, and that's refreshing. The second one is use tools for a purpose, not just because it's the new shiny thing, not because you can, but choose the tools for a purpose. The third one would be it's important to have a plan so that you can ignore it afterwards, you can adjust to it, you can maybe fall back to it, but it doesn't need to be followed religiously. And all of these three things, in my opinion, tighten together with collaboration. You need to collaborate and you want to collaborate with people to have long-term, fruitful working relationships. And to that, use those collaboration relationships for the respect, the open-mindedness, for picking the proper tools for the proper projects, and then build plans together so that you can break them together. In my particular case, all of this is applicable to my day job or to my actual job, which is leading a large software organization, but I'm pretty sure that these things go well across to many different fields. But now, let's do the same thing slowly. The Team Deakins Podcast is a collection of informal conversations between Roger and James Deakins and a guest. They never know where the conversation will take them, so listen in and let's see where it goes. And in case you don't know, Roger Deakins is an Oscar-winning British cinematographer and a pretty much a legend in the industry. You can think about 1984, Fargo, No Country for Old Men, Blade Runner 2049, and many more. Roger and James are a couple and they work in tandem as a true team. James Deakins has been credited and often as a digital workflow consultant, but based on the discussions, it's way more than that, but they are one cohesive team. And maybe that collaboration is what really sparks the discussion. In their podcast, they interview people from the filmmaking industry, and it's a really broad range. It goes from directors, cinematographers, producers, costume designers, creeps, camera trainees, lots of very different varied roles. And one brilliant thing, in my opinion, how they conduct the interviews and how they approach the discussions is they always have this genuine curiosity, open-minded and way to asking questions. And now let's remind that these people, Team Deakins, are legends in the industry, and it doesn't matter to whom they talk. They might talk to people who have won it all and have done it all, like Sam Mendes, Hans Zimmer, Benicio del Toro, but they have also interviewed a camera trainee, Monaya Abel, and the podcast and the interview was as engaging, as interesting, and for Roger and James, approached with the same open-minded and joyful curiosity. And I think that's something really important for anyone that works with a wide variety of people with different backgrounds, with different experiences, with different ages. That doesn't matter. Everyone has something to offer and everyone should be treated with an open mind, curiosity, and respect. It's refreshing to hear it, and I believe it helps for those long-term relationships. And while I'm not a believer on any type of process when it comes to the software industry, one of the tenets of the Agile Manifesto would be individuals and interactions over tools and processes, and that's a nice segue to my second point after having talked about the curiosity and respect towards everyone. Use a tool for its purpose, not because you can, not because you have it. They often talk about CGI, Steadicam, blue screen or green screen, and the proliferation of some of these new techniques, and that sometimes it might be overused just because of the fact that they are getting better and you can use them. But that's not a good reasoning to use them. Every single one of these tools has a purpose. Even Garrett Brown, the creator of the Steadicam, when he was in their podcast, was talking about this, that Steadicam is a great tool for its purpose, but shouldn't be used always and all of the time. And that happens in other industries also. In the software industry, for sure, we do have very often the new shiny thing syndrome. And that can be a tool and that can be a process. If your requirement management tool is really good, it's a helpful thing and use it for that purpose. But if your content is shit, the tool will have shit content anyway. So a tool will serve the purpose and it will help a process, but that's not the most important thing. And in the software industry, it gets even worse with processes, because there are businesses built around a specific process and sell it to the solution to all of the problems that exist. and not all of the problems are equal, so not all of the solutions are equal either. For the third point, let me misquote Dwight Eisenhower, saying that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. The way that this comes through the Team Deakins podcast specifically is when they talk about storyboarding or planning and prepping techniques. On the storyboarding specifically, they mention often and time again that it's a really, really good tool, but if needed, should be thrown out of the window. The fact that you have a starting point that's very useful to not lose time and not just start guesswork, but it doesn't mean that if you learn on set or on whatever work you're doing, during the process you're learning something new, you shouldn't change what your initial plan was. You're wiser, you discovered something that either requires or tells you that the initial plan was not as good as you thought it was. Then you can change it. If things don't go well, if you start to get lost, the plan is also a good place to fall back. And the whole point is to have a good starting point, somewhere to fall back, but use the discovery to change the plans if needed. In the software industry, and hopefully now I'm just talking about ancient things, but if I think about waterfall methods, it usually advocates for a really heavy, big upfront planning with the belief that the more planning you do at the beginning, then the better will be the next step. That's usually and often coupled with conformance to plan as a measure of success. But now please bear with me. This means also that this measurement is saying, if during your work you discover that your plan was wrong, do not change it because the measurement will say that you had failed. Sticking to the initial plan is the measurement, and if you learn that that plan was not good enough, changing the plan will mean that you have failed. Well, in fact, I think you will have succeeded if you learn something useful along the way. Plans are really important, but be ready to change them when you learn that they were not good enough. And now I talked about respect and curiosity and an open mind when approaching anyone and everyone you work with. We talk about use a tool for a purpose, not because you can or because you have it, and then have plans so that you can modify them when you learn more. But that works all together, I believe, with collaboration. I'm not sure if collaboration is the requirement that will enable you to be curious and open-minded with people, will enable you to choose tools for the purpose, or it will enable you to have a plan but not stick to it religiously. Or is it the other way around? When you do those two things, then that forces the collaboration because you need to go through the plans together with someone else to question them and learn from it. It forces you to open your mind to other people that have different tools, that have different approaches, that have learned different things, that will help you to choose the tool for the purpose. Regardless, collaboration is key for success. In the Team Deakins podcast, it comes really strongly just based on the fact that the way the film industry works is on projects. They have a start, they have an end. And why would anyone work again with someone or with a group of people if that experience was not valuable, even from a learning perspective, but was not enjoyable? So the collaboration is key to make it work, but also to have this continuous success and wanting to work with people. For most of us who work on a corporate environment with a certain permanence and long-term relationships, it means also that we better make the best out of it. We better build a collaborative environment when you can be creative, you can be open-minded, you can be curious, you can propose your ideas. This requires psychological safety as well. But that collaboration will mean that you'll get likely better results and joy during the way. Collaboration is for sure key for success. And now that I'm done, if you didn't care of any of this, you don't want to learn any of these things, still go and listen to the podcast because it's super entertaining.